Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video. Now this one is another Q&A taken from our Instagram story. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick 4 or 5 of the questions, the good ones that have taken a little bit of effort to answer, and try and give you as much of an insight and as much help as possible from an S&C point of view, a rugby standpoint, and just overall education. So hopefully this does help you and you take something from it. So I am just going to pick a couple at random. How to make agility better in pre-season. So agility comes down to a lot of different things. Your ability to change direction at speed, and obviously you've got to have physical qualities to be able to that underpin agility, but also from a decision and cognitive point of view, being able to make decisions in short time frames, being able to manipulate your defenders in front of you is also going to help. So there's lots of things there, making sure that you're strong, powerful, reactive in a frontal plane where you're actually looking to displace your center of mass, be able to propulse yourself in the opposite direction is really important. So making sure that you're doing some of the fundamentals in the gym, making sure you're working on single leg strength and power is massive, and then working in that frontal plane, so side to side, like lateral lunges, for example. Skater hops are great to build and underpin those physical qualities that are required for change direction efficiently as well. And then secondly, what I would be doing is in your speed session, say prior to training or even in the off season, is replicating 1v1 decision making drills, 1v1 small squares, then increase the squares, increase the time, increase the amount of chaos that's in there. How many decisions have you got to make in that short time period? It could be you just do a 1v1 drill where you're just trying to beat the defender, but that defender might make the decision for you by, for example, dropping a shoulder, and that's your precursor to go, right, I'm going to go in the opposite direction of that. Or he's going to be a defender that's actually trying to stop you, and then you've got to try and work even harder to kind of beat him. Drills like that which you can progress on, and then it can be 1v1v1. So for example, you beat the first defender, then you've got to go and beat the second defender. So very much game simulation, giving yourself as much exposure to 1v1 drills and actually beating defenders is going to help your agility massively. Hopefully that has helped. How do I improve my strength and speed? Resistance training for strength, okay, making sure that you're following a really well tailored gym program to yourself. Focus on the compound lifts. Don't get caught up in the cycle of just focusing on isolation lifts where you're not getting much bang for your buck, and then progressively overloading those resistance sessions, whether it's full body 3 times a week, slowly but surely increasing the volume and intensity. Time under tension have got to be key things that you've got to be increasing over time. Again, it's not going to be every week, but if you were to look at a 12-week cycle, I'd expect you to be doing more volume and probably slightly more intensity from week 1 up until week 12. So you know that you've actually progressively overloaded. You've got to keep applying stress to adapt to. If you keep the stress the same, you're not going to be adapting more. So ensure that you get enough recovery in between as well. And then speed. First of all, I'm a massive believer in speed being a skill and it being something that you can develop in the gym, but also out on the pitch. Like it's not going to be anything better than you actually going out and sprinting fast, but also what underpins those positions, postures, your ability to project yourself, react and switch. That are massive kind of characteristics that you need to be able to run fast. So making sure there's a focus in your gym. If you're just lifting slow in the gym, don't expect it to then translate onto the pitch when you go running. So making sure that your gym work also replicates it, whether it's making sure that you're doing some reactive jumping, ankle stiffness work in your prep work, you're doing some jumps where you're trying to project yourself forward, you're using sleds in the gym as more strength times speed work. These are the sorts of things, if you're really serious about getting quick, you need to be making sure that it's replicated in the gym and on the pitch. Next one. What is optimal rest time? So this is a bit of a vague question, but it's really down to your session you're doing and your goals of your session as well. But if you're looking to get strong, you're going to really want to make sure that in between your heavy sets, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to recover between those sets, rather than rushing it and then end up lifting on fatigue. Your strength curve is just going to keep going down that because you haven't recovered enough. That central nervous system hasn't rebooted almost to be able to then apply that maximal force and output on each session. So 2 to 3 minutes between big strength sets I always go by. If you're thinking about speed, it's normally 3 to 4 minutes if it's max speed and you're trying to train soul speed. That's what I'll be doing. For power, 2 to 3 minutes as well. But if you're trying to chase the pump, maybe cut down cut down the rest time because you're trying to create that metabolic stress where you're chasing the pump. Hopefully that answers that one. Any workout suggestions for a dislocated shoulder? First of all, the dislocated shoulder, I've dislocated my shoulder before, and it is really fundamental that you get the range of motion back, but also you regain control of that scapula and how that scapula moves around the rib cage. So can I bring my arm all the way above head without any issues? Have I got full external rotation? Can I internally rotate without any pain? And then it's all about being able to recruit those muscles well. First of all, build a good amount of muscular endurance. That is what I would be focusing on to start with, and then bringing in some closed chain movements, whether it's push-ups, low rows, bent over rows, things like that, to make sure that you're starting to build some global strength, and then you keep layering on top. You can get really funky with all the snazzy stuff and creating these sort of dangerous space scenarios, so it's robust and ready to go back to performance. But you can't do that without regaining full range of motion, regaining the ability to control the shoulder throughout, okay, and actually ensure that you've got good mechanics through lateral flexion, external rotation, internal rotation, extension, and when your arm is away from the body. You want to make sure that that scap and that rib cage have a really good relationship. So those are things I'll be doing. Neutral cable isometrics, a great way to start. Internal, external for periods of time, up against the wall. Serratus wall slides to make sure you've got that upper rotation. Again, these are really good early on rehab exercises that I would be doing alongside some closed chain. I always find with a dislocated shoulder, you're always a little bit more safer in close grip positions, and I would start horizontal before progressing onto vertical. I'd never go straight from horizontal while that's ticked off, go into then overhead, because that's where you're going to be quite unstable. So making sure that you bridge the gap. You start floor-based, then you can work into free weights, maybe some banded push-ups, maybe some dumbbell bench, and then looking at vertical pressing by incline bench. It could be landmine press before then going on to overhead lifting. So again, hopefully that helps with regards to dislocated shoulder. I've just gone off it, so 2 seconds. Here we go. What is the recommended training split for a forward that's looking to bulk? Now, first of all, bulking I always find a bit of a red flag. There's a term that's used a lot with regards to bulking and cutting. I just don't think there's much of a place for it in rugby when sports performance involved. So try and stay away from the bulking. Just think about putting on some good mass and doing it slowly. When I always think about bulking, I always think about people who are just trying to chuck on mass and they end up chucking on unfunctional mass with regards to it being fat mass. So making sure that it's a slow, steady process and you don't fall in the trap of gaining too much excess weight that's going to either impact your speed, your endurance, your power, and then maybe your strength as well. So making sure that it's a nice slow approach that's really consistent. And then from a split wise, if you're in season, I always like 3 full body movements. It can always be a lower body, an upper body, and a full body. But 3 lifts a week is optimal. And if you can, one of those lifts is always going to be a primer, so your power-based work. So Monday might be more of a volume-based session where the intensity is not quite there, but the volume is. So you're getting through some decent movement volume. You're creating this kind of pump kind of feel, and then Wednesday it's really set up for your strength power day, weightlifting with maximal intent. Hopefully you're fully recovered from the game the previous weekend, so Wednesday's a great opportunity to get your strength lift in, and then your Friday can definitely be your more velocity / power primer session where you're jumping, you're throwing. I always think that's the best way to go about it in season. It will change obviously in the off season when goals start to change, but again, you may have access to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and you may be able to get in there, so you may want to split those sessions up and run a little bit more volume depending on your goals. But you could always go a lower upper split, a day off, a full body, and then have Friday off, play on Saturday. But I like to keep a primer in because I think it's a really good kind of window of opportunity to get your power based work in. Hopefully that helps, guys. That is the questions for now. Hopefully you've gained a lot from that, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.